Hi, Kate.
Hi.
I hear recently that you've quit the Human Rights Commission, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit about what's going on.
Well, what's going on is I took very seriously this office. You know, it's something that you get elected to, this Human Rights Commission, and I understood it to be the body that advises the city council and mayor about the human rights issues of our day. And human rights is everything to me, so I wanted to be a human rights commissioner. What I learned just recently, I mean, I had suspicions at first, is that really the Human Rights Commission is just a rubber stamp being group to make the city look good. And I don't say that lightly. This is specifically what drove me to part ways. And that is, I'm a steering committee member on the Albina Ministerial Alliance Coalition for Justice and Police Reform. And so I've been intimately involved with the settlement between the DOJ, the Department of Justice, and the Portland Police Bureau in the city of Portland. So I know what's in it. I've read it many times. And what I saw was a misrepresentation of details. What I saw was the city's lawyer, Alan Osenich, spinning the settlement in a way that wasn't accurate. And by that I meant we worked hard to get that settlement. Both sides weren't really eager, pleased with the end, but it was a start. And what the city did was resist having the oversight that Judge Simon wanted, right? So Judge Simon had heard a day and a half of testimonies from persons of color who were explaining and giving testimony about how they'd been treated by Portland police. As you will recall, the settlement says there's been excessive uses of force against persons with mental illness, but it does not include race. So we had the fairness hearings around town and in the chambers, and Judge Simon was moved by what he heard. And so he did something that's untypical for judges. He said, I want to see this once a year for the next 5 years. I want to see how this settlement unfolds. And in addition, I want to have the Albina Ministerial Alliance Coalition, I want to give them enhanced amicus so that we're friends of the court and that we're part of the review of how this whole settlement gets played out.
That's a really cool.
Well, what I noticed, it started with the lawyer, but then it quickly went to our city commissioners, our mayor, even some of the staff at the Office of Equity and Human Rights, is that they were taking race right off the table. I didn't like that. I wasn't surprised by that, but I didn't like it. And then when the city chose to appeal, and they said it was for clarity, but I knew exactly what it is because I've seen the appeal. They're not telling the truth. And they want to get that Judge Simon out of the picture, and they want to get the AMAC, the Albina Ministerial Alliance Coalition, out of the picture so that they can shape the narrative and they can gauge the progress. And because institutional and cultural racism is everywhere and yet so hard to see, I don't personally have trust in an all-white city council to be able to measure our success on how the police engage with our communities of color. And so I took that, plus the fact that all three finalists for the COCL, which is the compliance officer and community liaison, the person hired to oversee and implement this settlement, all three finalists are white, and we have an all-white city council, and they expect our trust that they're actually going to address abuses of the civil rights of communities of color. No, I think that they're just trying to continue as business as usual, and I can't align myself with people who are not ready to address the racism that exists in our city. So I need to part ways.
How did the human rights react to this? When you parted, obviously they were, siding with the city? Is that?
Well, to tell you the truth, many of them are very upset by the appeal. They didn't understand it at first. I think a lot of Portlanders didn't actually understand what that was about, and by cloaking it in a phrase like "we just want clarity," it allowed people just to ignore it. But once the human rights commissioners understood this, there's actually quite a bit of concern on there. One person has quit in addition to me, in part because of this, and there are a couple of others who are considering it. So it'll be an interesting meeting.
Yes.
I can't wait to watch it online.
Well, we just had a meeting yesterday, and it was a heated discussion, kind of. Not heated, but it was a hot topic.
Yeah.
And but I didn't gather or gain from it that the human rights were supporting the mayor in his decision.
No, they're not.
They're not.
No.
But well, then why did you distance yourself from the Human Rights Commission?
Because when I tried to well, actually, some of us human rights commissioners had written a letter to the mayor and city council expressing our concerns. Their response was to try to meet with us quickly before we went into public because they wanted to
Squash maybe or curtail
They
any
wanted to
smooth
things out and ask for cooperation. And there is few. I mean, I'm a social justice minister. I'm concerned about many things in my community, but police abuse, use of excessive force on persons in our community is my number one concern right now. And so I'm not willing to work with the city if the city's not really serious about addressing the problem. I've got other places I can work. I can still continue my work with the Albina Ministerial Alliance Coalition. I can still do things. I don't need to do it with the city. And
Did you feel there was too much of a connection with the Human Rights Commission and the city? They're too connected because
they are connected. In
Yeah.
fact, the city council acts to vote on us, so we are elected by the city council to do this good work.
It's kind of tricky, huh? Because you're elected by them, yet you're supposed to be independent from them,
Right.
And can have your own voice.
Supposedly, that's what it says in paper, but it's not really my experience. But I have to tell you that what really got to me is I saw people who I really respect lying. And maybe it's because I'm a minister, but I have no tolerance for that. And so I don't want to align myself with an effort that's not trustworthy. And I don't feel that the city and the police union are being trustworthy right now. So I had to leave.
It's kind of making sense to me.
Yes.
As I try to separate you from the Human Rights Commission, I know you're a human rights advocate and activist, and that's not going to change.
Right.
But as you separate from the Human Rights Commission, just to explain that, it's so that because they are connected in the way they are, you don't want to be part of. You can't sit at that table.
Well, I think it's an illusion. I think that it sounds really good to have the Human Rights Commission, that it's part of our government. But in actuality, it was my personal experience is that we're not independent. And in fact, I even had a couple of persons tell me I can't act in ways that would make the city look bad. And that when I took certain stands, say police accountability, I could not speak as a commissioner. I was told I couldn't speak as a commissioner, not by one, but by two persons. And so, what's the point? Why be a commissioner if I have to be silenced?
Yeah.
So I respect the people in the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and I respect the commissioners, certainly.
A suggestion for the Human Rights Commission,
Yes.
maybe a more clear separation from being, or maybe even a charter,
Yes.
so they're not under the umbrella of the city council
Yeah.
or the city. They can act independently on human rights issues.
I wholeheartedly agree.
That's hopefully the message that maybe will come from this.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
I do. Yeah. Well, I'll miss you there.
Yeah, I'll miss
But
you too.
you're still all over the place. So thanks for what you're doing. Anything else you want to say or think of?
I had lunch today with a police officer. I have been meeting with this officer occasionally for the last several months. And the reason why this person reached out to me was because of my work on police accountability. And so what I'd say is police accountability and the dynamics in the police bureau are entrenched and complex, and they exist in a context that's very racist and sexist, and we have a problem. We can't expect easy fixes, and a lot of us hope that this DOJ settlement would be a big fix, but really it's just one step in a long journey. Know who you want to be with, know who you're going to fight next to, and align yourself with people who are good.
Cool. Thank you.